Hi there, and welcome to the 19th episode of Career Stories Live. So today I'm joined by Lois Cliff, and her headline says Wellness Done Well, Workplace Wellbeing Activist and Biophilic Consultant. So welcome, Lois. Thank you so much for coming on, especially as it's your birthday. Happy birthday.
Thank you for having me, Sarah. It's been a very fun birthday so far.
Good. I can see we've got a couple of comments already. So Jeff, as always, is the first person. So it's going to be epic. Yeah. Greetings, Sarah. Happy birthday, Ms. Lewis.
Mr. Guru, sir.
Thank you. And John, who I'm guessing is downstairs
from
a very rainy South Wales.
It's just so horrible out there. It was beautiful sunshine 2 minutes ago, and now it's just grey and murk.
It's unpredictable, isn't it? Yeah. So please, as John and Jeff have already done, please do comment to let us know that you're here, where you're joining from, and feel free to ask any questions or share your experiences in the comments. So just in case people are watching that haven't watched before, the basis for these lives is that I've just always been really interested in what people do, why they do it. Love learning about what people do and the different roles and career paths. And the aim really is to inspire people about things they might want to do and hopefully get some advice from the people that are being my guests. So I can see a couple more comments. So Paul is saying hello around the corner as usual. Yes, hello, Paul. And Sam is saying hello, beautiful girls. Or hello, Sam. So there you go. Thank you. Okay, so firstly, your headline. Can you just elaborate a bit on what your headline means, Lois?
Okay, so Wellness Done Well. I think wellness is for everybody, and there are certain key things about wellness that I think an awful lot of people don't know. And I'm trying to get myself out there with a fairly bouncy tigger, sort of high energy wellness thing for businesses, really, to get some really critical messages that people need in order to be properly well out there. So yeah, I have ADHD. I am a bouncy tigger. I am an activist. There's a bit of a play on words going on there, but yes, my head is a very busy place, and I bring energy to what I do, generally speaking. So yeah, doing wellness with energy for businesses to make people better.
Excellent. And for anyone that doesn't know, what does Biophilic Consultant mean?
Okay, so biophilia is the cherry on the top of the cake for me, and I didn't even know this was a thing, although I think it's part of my DNA. Biophilia is essentially, it's the understanding what we have within us. It is the innate need to work with nature.
Okay.
I mean, in lockdown, people learned that going out for a walk was a good thing for their mental health.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But, there are so many bits of us that work better when we are in nature, and we create all these building projects, and, there are people who are looking after nature within that context, but unfortunately not enough of them for the speed of the building and the infrastructure stuff that we create. But basically, if we work with nature, have respect for nature, and are like that with nature, we are happier, healthier, and more productive. So
brilliant.
I'm also, that's, for me, that's part of wellness.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was a thing. It was actually John Espirian who sort of found out that this is a thing, Lois. And yeah, he probably said it 18 months ago, actually. But sometimes I'm a bit slow getting to the party. So thank you, darling.
Well, that's great. It's good to have input, isn't it? So, okay, we've got John joining from Chicago. So welcome, John. Thank you for joining. So John was the guest on my second week of doing these. So it's always nice to see him come back. And John is saying major green vibes going on. Yes, it's like we planned it, isn't it? Sam saying nice to see you. Looks refreshing. John's talking about biophilia. So thank you, John. And Paul is saying totally agree about the connection with nature. Okay, and Jeff, being human in a nutshell. Brilliant. Absolutely. Thank you very much for your engagement. So have you read Gardening for the Mind, Lois?
Do you know what? I have it, and I haven't started it. But yes,
it's so good. Yeah,
it was your recommendation, wasn't it?
It was, yeah.
Months ago.
Yes.
Yes, it's on my
your list.
Yes, cool. I know there's a word in Japanese for the pile of books that you are going to get around to reading. John will put that in the comments in a moment, I'm sure, because he knows it. I
Oh
couldn't have
no,
done it.
yeah, no. So Paul's now saying it's why he loves working alongside the river in Henley.
Yeah, I saw that post yesterday and it did look glorious. And I hope that flag issue got sorted out.
I think it did. So we'll talk a bit more about what you're going to be doing next, but later. So we're going to kind of start with early careers. So I looked on your profile and saw that you were a tour guide at Durham Castle. So do you want to just tell
Yeah.
us a bit more about your really early work?
Yeah. So Durham Castle was where my college was. And
Okay.
it's the Norman Castle. And if you've ever been to Durham, it dominates the skyline. And it's a very historic and lovely building. And I was the first year of girls there when it went mixed. And yeah, I ended up, I don't even know how I ended up. The porter at the Porter's Lodge was asked by my parents to adopt me on the day that
Right.
they dropped me off, basically. And he took that duty very seriously. So he basically thought, tours. I wonder if Lois, because he organised the tours, I wonder if Lois would like to do tours. So he put the tours my way, and they were a nice little learner for 3 years, and I did them with my mate, and I stayed up in the summer, because once you've gone from home, you sort of don't want to go back, really, do you? Well, I did.
Yeah.
So I stayed up and did guided tours, and worked when the college became accommodation for bed and breakfast and conference goers.
Okay. Yeah.
That was the other string to my bow, because I was
Yeah.
a bedder in, I had my own bedder in term time, because that's how it was back in the day. And then I worked alongside that team of people, mucking in for £2.20 an hour.
Nice. But I think it shows you the power of networking right from an early age, doesn't it? So
Yeah,
you got that job essentially through someone that you had
yeah,
been, that was looking after you. So
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And on a recent-ish trip, it was in the last 7-8 years, to Durham with the family, I bumped into Margaret. We were having lunch at the same place, and she recognised me, one of the
Oh
bedders,
wow.
who also used to work in the canteen. Yeah, and it was
Excellent.
lovely. Yeah.
Oh, that's really good. So John, as predicted, has put the name up. I won't attempt to pronounce that. So thank you, John.
Yeah.
Rebecca saying, hello, lovely ladies. Nice to
Oh,
see you.
hi,
No, thank you,
Rebecca.
Rebecca. Paul saying the flag is fine. Thank you.
Good.
Oh, and a bit of inside knowledge now. So, so Jeff saying perfect job for an excellent teacher. Thank you, Jeff. We're going to come on to teaching in just a minute. And John is
Thank
saying
you,
Lois was
John.
once on TV with Harry Seacombe, if
Yeah.
anyone remembers him. So you need to elaborate on that now, don't you,
So
Lois?
Highway, do you remember Highway? It was the sort of ITV answer to Songs of Praise.
Okay.
And because I did guided tours, they were doing Highway from Durham Castle. And I had to do the sort of film, the tours, the historic slot. And I think that there is still footage of this somewhere on VCR. John tells me it's somewhere on YouTube, but I'm not going to look. The thing that stands out for me, because obviously we didn't do it straight away in one take, it was probably more like 4 or 5 takes, and I ended up using the phrase rather fine about 6 times. So it's just, and then we had to be banged in for dinner. So imagine walking the length of the Great Hall, surrounded by all your mates who are dressed in there, it's a formal dinner with gowns and everything, very pretentious, completely pretentious. And they are all banging on their table with their tableware because we are late for dinner.
Oh no.
So good. But yeah, it was good fun.
There you go. That was good. Okay, so as Jeff just mentioned about teaching, so you trained to be a teacher. So can you talk a little bit about your experience of teaching?
Yeah, so teaching was something my dad did very late. And it was the one thing I swore I would never do, because I saw my dad's experience of it.
Oh, really?
But he was teaching RE and music in a council estate that was called Smack City back in the 80s.
Wow. Okay.
And RE and music were probably not those kids' number one priorities in life. And yeah, he did not have a good time. And so I learned from that. And a number of years later was sort of manipulated into, oh, but Lois, it'll be so good when you have the children, doing a PGCE. And, I absolutely loved teaching. I taught English for the best part, 28 years or so. Didn't have a lot of time out with my 2 sons. For the most part, taught full-time in the state sector.
Right.
And bounced into classrooms, and kids knew that they were going to have a good time. And bonus, they sometimes learned stuff. They didn't always learn what was on the PowerPoint. a standing joke that I never got through a PowerPoint lesson plan in my life.
Right.
The kids were generally happy to be there, and we got good results. So, and you know, so many of them are still here in my life now. You
Oh,
know,
that's
I
nice.
proofread somebody's thesis the other day for them. So, you know, I'm giving back still. And some of them are on LinkedIn with me now. You know,
Oh, that's
they are
nice.
grown-ups in the world of work, and they
Yeah.
pop up from now and again on my posts and stuff and say hello, which is really
Oh, no, that is really nice, and they come back, isn't it? So Jeff saying teaching is life, the rest is just
fun.
details. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
No,
Very
that's
wise, Jeff. Thank you.
mhm.
So you then moved on to being subject leader in English and media. So was that
Yeah,
something you applied for? Was it you
I
just got
did.
pushed
I,
into
I
it? You did?
had I had a wonderful experience. Am I allowed to say the name of the school, or would you prefer it if I
Don't see.
didn't?
No, it's fine by me. Yeah.
Okay, so we've moved around quite a bit. My ex-husband and I, we moved from the northeast to the northwest because he got a job in a city school, and basically he was working his way up the ladder,
Yeah.
and I was the person who worked full time and then worked a bit of part time and looked after the kids and kept the sort of home fires burning, as it were. The unpaid labour of women, as my son would no doubt say. So he climbed and climbed and climbed, and he's still the head now at that school and doing a great job. But I was really struggling because, I mean, you know, teachers, you know, it's not a 9 to 5 job, and 2 small children running a house. I was just constantly knackered. So
Yeah.
I take a little bit of time out. I taught a bit of part time, and then this is not anywhere on my profile. You will not know this. I basically took receipt of 2,000 jam jars and set up a business creating artisan marmalades and chutneys.
Oh, very
I
nice.
did not have the foresight to discuss this with my now ex-husband,
Right. Okay.
who was a little bit disgruntled to find jam jars lurking around the house. Yeah, things that could have been better done. But anyway, um, anyway, there was a bit of an abortive attempt at being my creative self for money there. But,
Yeah.
you know, now I like to chop chilies and make marmalade in small batches, not for profit and just for
Yeah.
fun. And that's the way it will be.
So the
But
whole house must have just smelt of oranges the whole time.
and sometimes if you're making chutneys, vinegar, and to come home
Yeah.
from a stressful day at the chalk face and just to feel vinegar hitting the back of your throat, I don't think he liked that very much, and I understand, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, so after that, I had to get a job, and I got a job, 2 terms maternity contract at Altrincham Girls Grammar, which was just a sublimely different experience of teaching.
Mm.
You know, I taught all girls before at a small private school, but this was just, I went to a girls' grammar school, and I
Yeah.
walked into that school hall, and it was just like going home. I just
Oh,
felt, you know,
wow.
I just felt like my bones were happy in that
Yeah.
space. And those kids were gorgeous, but fascinating as an educative experience for me. I
Mm.
remember we were going to do a poem, Phenomenal Woman. Is it Maya Angelou? I think it is.
Mm.
And these girls were just so, they were beautiful, they were healthy, well nourished, clean, beautifully spoken, they were talented sports people, they were musically right up there, you know, if they weren't doing grade 8 something or other, you know,
Yeah.
it was just crazy how amazingly talented these kids were. And I remember starting off this poetry lesson by asking them in their books to write down 5 things that they liked about themselves
Right.
and talk about tumbleweed moments, Sarah.
Wow, really?
Do it. They could
Mm.
not do it. They had
Mm.
such self-esteem issues.
That's so sad, isn't it?
Crazy. But anyway,
Mm.
2 terms there, and I realised where I needed to be teaching, and I
Yeah.
applied for a job at Stretford Grammar School, which was at the time in special measures. It's the only grammar school in the history of Britain, I think, to have been in special measures. But it was the most fantastic school. It still is.
Mm.
I loved it there. It was my favourite school ever. And they
Wow.
believed in me, and they saw
Mm.
something in me, and they put me on a course, the Good to Outstanding Teacher course. And,
Okay, yeah.
and I was able to use the things that I was doing there with coaching, for example, and you know, how to do a really good lesson observation, and I was able to feed some good stuff back in to help them grow, to
Yeah.
say thank you for
Yeah.
putting their faith in me and some money behind me,
Yeah.
And it was from that experience that I then, because that was just an ordinary classroom teacher job.
Mm.
And then I applied for this head of English job, which you wouldn't normally do from an ordinary classroom teacher role.
Okay.
You'd be doing second in department or something.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Running a key stage,
Yeah. Yeah.
key stage 3 or key stage 4. So it was a bit of a long shot, to be honest. But I
Yeah.
thought, you know what, this is me now. I can do this. I want
Yeah.
to do this. And that really turned things around for me. And I did
Yeah.
absolutely love the job.
Yeah.
The school I was in, however, had a very toxic senior leadership team.
Right. Okay.
And there was a real workplace bullying sort of horrible.
Yeah.
Really
Yeah.
horrible. People who were walked off site and never seen again. I've never known a place like it. It's under totally different management now, and it's a much
Right.
better
Okay.
place to be in
Yeah.
for kids and for staff, because the kids knew,
Yeah.
particularly sixth form, the kids knew that they could go to the sixth form leader and essentially have a go and dump all of their little grievances at the feet of that person. And that all of that information would find its way to the deputy head, who
Right.
would, do very unpleasant things. It was just a horrible environment. But
Yeah.
it taught me a hell of a lot. I learned massively. I learned about how to manage change. I learned about how to manage people. I learned about being resilient, because I was essentially reduced to rubble.
Yeah.
And I had to rebuild from that point.
Yeah. It's a horrible situation, isn't it, to be
It
in
was
that?
vile, actually.
Yeah.
But I am still in touch with one or two of those people from that time. And yeah, it's a very different school now. And the kids were
Yeah.
always lovely.
Yeah.
I always used to say it didn't matter how crap the adults were. If you went into your classroom, within 5 minutes, kids would sort you out.
Yeah. Oh,
And
that's
the way
nice.
it was,
Yeah.
because I just
Yeah.
loved being in a classroom. And I
Yeah.
remember reading Mark Schaefer's book, Known, in lockdown, and having a completely light bulb moment. Sorry for the cliche. I have the heart of a teacher. That's what Mark Schaefer says about him.
Right.
And I
Okay.
read that sentence. I think I was in the bath at the
Yeah.
time, a glass of red wine,
Yeah.
because there was a lot of that in lockdown.
Yeah.
Bath time and red wine, in fact.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember just feeling, oh my God, yes, I am not a teacher anymore, but I have the heart of a teacher. How
Yeah.
do I take that forwards?
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And Rebecca's just saying here, sometimes the worst times make you grow the most, which is really,
Absolutely.
really true, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I think that kind of leads into one of my later questions. So I'm just going to put it on now about
Okay.
personal values. So from what you're just saying, it sounds that they very much do. So personal values and the impact on your work. Is that something you take into consideration now?
Yeah, I mean, there's so much chit chat, particularly with Chat GPT, about authenticity, isn't
Yeah.
there? And
Yeah.
are we going to be replaced? Is our content, still good content if it's made by AI? And I think authenticity it's something. It made me laugh in my sort of first year of business, really, because it's like, this is a thing they talk about in business. And of course, if
Yeah.
you've got 20 odd years in teaching, you have no clue how the world of business works. So I learned all about how to network and all sorts of things in that first year, 2019. But authenticity, people kept banging on about authenticity. It's like, who else would you be other
Yes.
than yourself?
Yeah.
It just did not occur to me that anybody would do that. Because, I mean, kids, my ex-husband has a phrase, you can't kid a kidder.
Right.
But you can't kid kids. Kids will
No.
see through bullshit at 20 paces. So yeah, authenticity is a thing. And also laughter. I think if you're not having fun, then why are you doing it? Not that we have to be giggling hysterically, into our coffees at all moments of the day. But I know that kids learn better when they're having fun. I know I learn better when I'm having fun. I retain more when I'm having fun. And, there's so much of life that's Dullsville.
Yeah.
learning should not be dull.
No.
And if you're teaching something that matters, like wellness, for example, you know, I mean, you can live without semicolons. You can totally live without full stops and commas in the right place. And many people do. And
Yeah.
language is for languaging. So I'm with them. What the
Yeah.
hell? But everybody should know about wellness. How many people know that sugar is toxic?
Mm.
That sugar is probably marginally worse for you than alcohol?
Yeah.
How many people actually know that, Sarah?
I know we were talking about this on our business book club live the other day. What day was it? Tuesday, I think. Yes, so we were talking Niraj's book. We were reviewing that, and he was talking about sugar addiction in there. So yeah, and I think maybe people don't know it's toxic. I think people know it's bad for them, but they kind of tend to ignore it, really, don't they? Well, most people do. I know I do.
Well, I know somebody who's cut out carbohydrates and sugar and doesn't
Wow.
drink anyway, and in the last 21 days has lost a stone of weight.
Wow. Amazing.
In the last month, is it 7.7 kilos? I think it is.
I
I'm not
know.
sure I remember in numbers, but that's what
That's a
happens.
lot.
That's
Yeah.
what happens when you re-educate your body and you live on proteins and healthy proteins and fats. That's what
Yeah.
happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's skip on to freelance writing. So you had a few years of doing freelance writing. So what made you decide to go into that? Was that kind of a natural step from teaching English, maybe? Or
So people have always said, Lois, you should be a writer.
okay,
But because I don't have low self-esteem, or at least historically, I didn't have low self-esteem. I had no self-esteem. And if you know anything at all about ADHD, and I think you do, then you know where I'm coming from there. People said, Lois, you should be a writer. And I was thinking I would never get published. I would never be able to do that. My mindset was always not good enough, can't. And then I got to birthday 49 and I thought, actually, maybe you can. And I'd written some short stories and I'd actually got a message from a publishing house that I'd sent some stuff to say, this isn't really us, but have you got anything else you could send us? And I just didn't understand what that was. And I should have banged in a sickie. I should have taken a week off and written like hell and just sent them everything and seen what happened. But I just did not get it. A bit slow getting to the party sometimes. But birthday 49 made me really understand, if I am going to end my days as a teacher, I'm going to be knackered, embittered, miserable. I'll probably die a year after I retire because I'll be so fat and so unhealthy and I'll be miserable. So this is the time and I'm going to do this now. And that didn't go down very well with the now ex-husband, who, you know, was earning six figures, but has his own issues around money and security. And I understand that. I appreciate that. So he felt very let down. He felt utterly betrayed. I think it took him a very long time to understand and to forgive. And he was not supportive, really.
Right. Okay.
You know,
So
he
very hard.
bankrolled the first year of my operation. And I was faking it till I made it. I was totally, you know, I was talking to Trisha about this on her podcast a long time ago. And I said it was like being on roller skates on crack, basically. It was mental. I didn't have a clue what I was doing. But I knew that if I didn't do it, I never would. And I would not want to live with the regrets. So I thought,
no, that's good. Yeah.
I may not ever get a publishing deal, but I'm sure that I can write for businesses. And I had a book that said I could. So I used that book and I sort of followed the lessons in that book and I sort of blagged my way through it. It was messy. And yes, there were a lot of, you know, balls in the air, many of which were dropped. Some of them never got picked up, but
lots of learning.
I learned a lot and I could write for a living. I can write for a living. Yeah.
Good. Okay. Well, I've seen there's a few more comments coming through. So John saying all the best people have the heart of a teacher.
Yeah.
Ask you about your wellies. Do you want to talk about your wellies?
John Asperian. The wellies. Okay. The wellies. This is welly. So if you know, sorry, other Wellington brands are available. So gamifying and making things fun. Do you remember the Where's Wally books?
Oh, yeah.
So boys always love the Where's Wally books. And for anybody who doesn't know them, they're they're large format hardback books, aren't they? And their
Yeah.
pages
Very
are full of
busy.
graphic, very, very busy, beautiful for anybody who's a little bit hyperactive. And boys historically do not like library lessons and reading in silence for anything like 10 minutes even. So if they get a Where's Wally book, they can generally be found tucked up in a corner and trying to find the little character of Wally in the pictures. And Where's Welly, that's a bit of nonsense for businesses.
Right.
So gamifying wellness, and points make prizes, obviously. And if you are a business, then your job is to pass the welly around, but you've got to hide it secretly for a person to find. And you've got to
Right.
target
Okay.
a person. It's not a nasty thing. It's not,
Yeah.
it's just see if you can hide this welly somewhere around this person's workspace for them to find. You might want to leave a little snack or a little note with it, but when they find it, they have to quietly snap a picture of it, and then they have to move it to the next person. It's a bit of nonsense.
I know, that's good. Yeah, yeah. Good.
Prizes, engagement,
Yeah.
silliness.
Ice breaking, all of
Yeah,
that. So
all of
yeah,
that.
that's cool.
It's a bit of Friday fun.
Yeah. Okay.
Entertainment. Thank you, Jeff.
So Jeff, John saying more about the weight loss story soon. Thank you, John. And then someone saying very late to this party. Great to see and hear this. So thank you to whoever you are. Thank you.
Yes.
Right. So we're running really short on time now.
I'm sorry.
So no, that's
Okay,
cool.
but
So
even-
do you want to talk just a bit about your new role of CEO at Floriat? So what will you be focusing on?
So Floriat actually comes from my old college motto, Floriat Castellum, which means
Okay.
let castle flourish. It's a Latin subjunctive for anybody who needs to know. Floriat means, I just loosely translate it, let's grow.
Okay.
Let's grow, let's flourish, let's blossom, let's bloom. And that's what I want. It's about getting wellness messages out there that are not boring, that are not sort of, it's not a box ticking exercise, because, human beings are not box ticking exercises. Any business of 50 or 100 people, it has percentages, and it will know about percentages of, mental health problems within its workplace. It will know who's taking sick days. It will know what return on investment it wants to have from any spend on well-being.
Yeah.
And I remember hating being in an English department meeting once and being told that I had to look at my year 10s and do a sum and work out what percentage each child was as a proportion of my success measures for that year.
Wow.
It's like, no way, that is not what I am here for, and that's not what those kids are. So I will never see a human being as a percentage, but I appreciate that businesses need an ROI on spends, and I am a spend. You bring me into your business, you get a bouncy tigger who will tell you all sorts of random stuff that you maybe didn't know you needed to know. But because I am who I am and I do what I do the way I do it, the deal is anybody will hear something that resonates for them personally, strongly. And maybe if we pair that person up with somebody else who's had that same light bulb moment, then they have a little support network, because that's all you need, isn't it? A cheerleader of one, a support network of one is all you need to change something. And it's potentially something that changes your life.
Yeah.
It might be something about doing more steps. It might be something about drinking less alcohol, or eating less sugar, or how to breathe so that you deal with stress better.
Yeah.
Or
so
it
it's
might
pinning
be
that down.
relationship so that you parent better, or you have a more healthy whole relationship with your personal, in your personal life. All sorts of things.
Brilliant.
You
That
never
sounds
know
really
what
good.
you need to hear, do you?
No, this is very true. Okay, so we normally give a little bit of advice for people. So what I was going to ask you, what advice do you have for anyone wanting to work as a teacher? Given now what you know about teaching, what would you say to someone that's thinking of starting out?
Be healthy, be happy, and make sure that you are eating well for energy, because that job is a demanding job, and I wouldn't go back into it now, knowing what I know.
Yeah.
because for me, it became altogether too bureaucratic. As I said,
Yeah.
people are people, kids are
Yeah.
not percentages.
Yeah.
You need so much energy. And I did my last term of teaching between January and April last year, and it was hell on wheels. Post-COVID children who have not been given any strategies to deal with their new normal.
Yeah, no, it's a
It's
massive
not,
area, isn't it?
it's
Yeah.
not a healthy, happy space to be in my
No.
experience. But I know that was only one school post-COVID.
Mm.
But I am still in touch with a lot of people who are still at the chalk face, and
Yeah.
yeah, it's a tough old world, and I feel for
Yeah.
it. So I
Yeah.
would think hard and long before you make that decision. But if you're going to do it, eat well, and high protein is the way forward.
Brilliant. Okay. So I'm just going to share your screen here, your LinkedIn page. So what is the best way for people to get in touch if they want to work with you, Lois?
Well, a DM on LinkedIn will always get a response pretty
Yeah.
rapidly. I am in the middle of rebranding. I've got two lovely students of graphic design working on logos and straplines as we speak. So all of that stuff is sort of pending. I do have a website, which the lovely man assisted me with last week.
Okay, brilliant.
But it's not quite ready for the big reveal. So a LinkedIn DM is
Yeah,
always
best
the
way.
way forward.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so we are out of time. So thank you so much, Lois, today for joining me. It's been
Thank
really
you for having
interesting
me,
to hear
Sarah.
what you've been doing and your views on teaching, etc. I'm sure lots of people have got lots out of it. So thank you to everybody that's been watching. I'll go back through and kind of respond to the comments later. If you're watching on catch up, then obviously ask questions, and I'm sure Lois will answer any questions you have for her. So future shows, I've got people booked up till the end of July now. It's quite crazy. And next week I am here with, let me just quickly update that, sorry. So next week I have Dan Chan joining me. So Dan is director at PwC. So I met him last year when he taught me to be a paddleboard coach, actually. So as well as his day job, he's a coach of loads and loads of water sports. He's a charity trustee, a pilot, a governor, marathon runner, so much more. So I don't know how we're possibly going to have time in half an hour to touch on what he does. So it's going to be a very interesting conversation anyway. So thank you again. Thank you to everyone watching, and see you next week.
Cheers. Thanks, Sarah.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.